Hey everyone, welcome to my reaction to episode 2 of Love is Blind Argentina. So, Emily and Santiago meet face to face for the first time. When the doors opened, I was a little confused because they seemed to be walking towards each other without any reaction. But then they kissed and it was all good. They both liked how the other looked, and Santiago proposed to her, telling her that ever since he had that dream, he couldn't stop thinking about her. And I was like, oh lord, not the dream again. But it was really cute how Santiago kept kissing her and telling her he'd protect her and take care of her. I'm really rooting for this couple. I think they're going to make it to the end. Now, going back to Maria, she tells the women that Mauricio told her she was one of his top choices, and she didn't believe him at first because she heard one of the girls say he told her she was his top choice. So she told him before leaving that she's going to be sure to ask around and find out if he was lying about her. That's where things got awkward in the last episode because of the way their date ended. I felt like Maria really contradicted herself here because in episode 1, when she heard the women making comments about Marino being a player, she said she wanted to base her opinion on her own experience with him. So I kind of felt like she wasn't giving Mauricio the same benefit of the doubt that she gave Marino. But that could be because maybe Marino was more open with her, whereas Mauricio had been a bit more reserved. Anyway, in her next date with Mauricio, he tells her he was taken aback by her reaction when she said she would ask the girls about his intentions. He felt really disappointed hearing her say that, and to this, Maria admits she was influenced by the other women's perception and apologizes to him. She feels after she has this conversation with him, he's the type of person she'd want to grow with because he can be honest with her. We cut to Marino and Maria's date then, where they're talking about shortcomings. Maria shares she was cheated on in the past and has a fear of rejection. And then Marino tells her that he actually cheated on the mother of his child. I was floored. First of all, I'm glad he said it because he turned himself into a red flag. But I was like, why would you share something like that to someone you're potentially going to marry? There's literally no benefit, but it's good that he did share that because it raises an alarm with Maria. She then asks him if he's a ladies' man, and he goes, definitely. I was just facepalm, facepalm, facepalm. He tells her that whenever he's single, he really likes being with several women, and then he goes, you can say I'm a bit of a dog, but when I fall in love with someone, everything changes with me. At this point, I had had enough of this man, and thank God so did Maria. She tells him she wouldn't tolerate cheating and shares in her interview that she was starting to imagine a life with Marino, so it was upsetting to her to discover that he's a bit of a player. Marino is the perfect example of that one line that goes, when people show you who they are, believe them. Maria crosses Marino off her list, and good riddance. In his interview, Marino goes, after our date ended, I felt so lost. I don't get it. What is there not to get, Marino? He's not very aware of himself. That's pretty clear. Now, with Marino out of the picture, Maria gives her full attention to Mauricio, and the two become engaged. Maria was actually the one to propose to Mauricio in the pods, and that stood out to me because generally speaking, I've heard it's a turnoff to men when a woman tries to propose, but I think given the circumstances of the experiment, it probably didn't matter who proposed first in the pods. Their face to face reveal was also successful, and they're both happy to see each other. They kiss and hug. She says he's handsome, and he tells her she's beautiful. And so we have another successful reveal. I don't think we're going to have any bad reveals in this season because everyone we've seen so far, at least in my opinion, are good in the looks department, and they're all pretty much in good shape. So we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, in this episode, we meet Ezekiel. He's 32 and owns an appliance repair company. He shares he doesn't fall in love easily and has a hard time expressing his feelings. We have a lot of participants in this experiment who keep saying they have a hard time expressing themselves. Did anyone else notice this pattern? Ezekiel says he's here to overcome that, but I feel that's something you need to sort out in therapy rather than this experiment. Like, heal yourself first and then join the experiment where the expectation is to open up to someone and then marry them right away. He meets Julieta, who's 23. She repairs phones for a living, and I thought it was cute how their occupations were sort of similar, how they're both repairing something. She loves that he's an entrepreneur. We also learned that she had a really rough childhood, that she was abandoned by her parents and had to live with her grandmother and become fully independent by 18. It was interesting to hear about her background because it really shed some light on her personality. I was actually surprised she was just 23 years old because she appeared to act very mature for her age and very put together. So having that context of her childhood and how that impacted her helps us understand that she had to grow up really fast. Julieta's been single for a year, whereas Ezekiel has been single for 10 years. He describes his last partner as being toxic, that she was controlling and would check his phone all the time. She must really have traumatized this guy because he's been single for 10 years. Like, that must have been one crazy relationship. He shares that he's dated other women, but they were all hookups. I thought that was a red flag that for the last 10 years he's only been hooking up with women. It just made me think he wasn't all that serious about getting into a relationship, and it made me question what his intentions were being here. Even Julieta felt a little off because he shares that he struggles exploring deeper connections, which didn't make her feel any safer. Julieta also meets Jose Luis, who is 30 and works as a coordinator for events. He's looking for a partner that he can talk to and share everything with. And again, we learn he also finds it hard to build meaningful trust with people sometimes. But he says he goes all in when he decides to commit. So for me, that's a red flag number one in Jose Luis, that he struggles building trust with people. Go to therapy first, buddy. Then he shares that his friends tease him and ask him if he will be a bachelor forever. That's red flag number two. And then he shares that he enjoys being single but thinks now is the right time to find someone. Red flag number three. Why does he feel now is the right time to find someone? If your friends tease you about being a bachelor and you enjoy being single, I have a lot of questions. Julieta feels that something about him doesn't feel right either, and I'm right there with you, Julieta. She feels Ezekiel is way more reserved, though, which creates a mystery about him, whereas Jose Luis is much more of a charmer and a sweet talker. Her biggest concern with Jose Luis is that he isn't being very genuine with her, as in what he shares with her, he shares with other women as well. And her instincts turn out to be correct because Jose Luis is also talking to Florencia and another woman, the same way he's speaking with Julieta. Now, in Jose Luis's date with Florencia, he tells her she's ranked pretty high for him, but he's been hearing some things from Tom in the men's lounge, and it seems like she's already taken. But Florencia denies this and tells him that nothing is set for her, that she's still open to making connections. I was like, girl, what do you mean? We literally saw a scene from the women's lounge where she and Florphy were talking about Tom and how Florencia seemed really set on Tom, even calling him her husband. But now that she's talking with Jose Luis, she's denying that she has a strong connection with Tom. So she's giving me the same vibe that Jose Luis was giving Julieta. Florencia is basically playing both sides. At least that's how it comes across. In their date, Florencia and Jose Luis actually end up having a really emotional conversation, and it seems like they're opening up to each other on a deeper level. After this happens, Jose Luis goes back to the men's lounge and shares this with Tom. Like, there's no privacy around here. At this point, he's feeling like Tom would be a better match for Florphy because he has his eyes set on Florencia, but this changes quickly. Tom really feels comfortable with Florphy, and ever since she told him that he was her number one, he's had mixed feelings about Florencia, who was originally his top choice. When Tom meets Florencia the next time, she tells him she's in love with him, and oh my god, he said, I don't know how to respond to that. Like, ouch. That was awkward. But can you blame him? The guys have been talking, and Florencia has turned herself into a red flag. Tom does confront Florencia and tells her he's heard she was able to open up on a deeper level with Jose Luis, and he feels they haven't reached that stage yet. But Florencia just tells him that her mind is made up and she wants to marry Tom. In the men's lounge, Tom shares that Florencia told him she loved him, and Jose Luis goes, She said that to you? And then he tells Tom that he cleared things up for him because she wasn't being honest with him. He also tells Tom that Florencia asked him what was the name of her future mother-in-law. So now Tom has more to confront Florencia about. So the next time he sees her, he brings it up, the whole mother-in-law comment, and Florencia goes, Yeah, it's possible that I said that. Facepalm. Tom feels bothered by the comment and really starts to question how genuine Florencia is being with him. And as a result of this, he also begins to feel more secure in his relationship with Florphy and decides to take the next step with her, which means ending things with Florencia. I was really glad that he chose Florphy. Honestly, their vibes are just the same, so it all worked out for the best. Now, in Florencia's interview, she says that she wants Tom to know that she's choosing him and that she'll be there for him. She doesn't want him to have doubts, but she's literally keeping the door open with Jose Luis. To me, it really started to feel like Jose Luis and Florencia would be a good match for each other because they were both somewhat being deceitful to their connections by making everyone they were talking to feel like they were their top choice. But since Jose Luis feels Florencia is being deceitful now, he sets his sights fully on Julieta. However, it's too late because in the women's lounge, There's a woman talking about how Jose Luis was being pushy towards her and saying he made it clear that she was his number one, but she told him he wasn't her top choice. Julieta hears this, and in her interview, she says she feels Jose Luis thinks too highly of himself and is trying to please all the girls. She doesn't appreciate that because she feels everything he said to her up until now hasn't been genuine. So the next time Julieta meets Jose Luis, she tells him what creates the most doubt for her in relationships is when people aren't honest and waste her time. She tells him that she spoke to the other girls and felt really upset hearing he had a connection with them. She tells him that she feels like they're two very different people and she doesn't think she's the right match for him. He tries to save their connection by telling her he hasn't experienced what he has with Julieta with anyone else, but she's not buying it. Then he tells her tomorrow he'll give a definitive answer. And she goes, she won't be there to hear the answer. I was so proud of Julieta here, like mic drop. She was not going to waste any more time and crossed him off her list. Julieta seems to bond better with Ezekiel anyway, especially when they both talk about their dysfunctional families. They both get emotional and end up connecting on a deeper level, I think, but she still feels like Ezekiel needs to open up to her a bit more and tell her how he feels about her. We then get a scene from the women's lounge where Florencia is crying because she's afraid of losing Tom. She says she has a hard time opening up, making her the third person in this episode to say that, and she fears rejection. I really don't understand what Florencia expected, though. She was keeping the door open with Jose Luis while she kept telling Tom that he was her priority. It was just really messy the way she was acting with the guys. I'm really glad Tom chose Florpy because again, they seem like a better fit. And honestly, I feel like Jose Luis, even though he was put off by Florencia's tactics, would probably be a better fit for Florencia. Like, you guys are both playing both fields. Like, you know? Tom finally meets with Florencia and ends it. He tells her he hopes she finds something beautiful with someone else. Florencia tries to tell him that she's told him things she hasn't told anyone else, that he's the only one she loves, but he's made up his mind. If she was so sure about Tom, she shouldn't have continued to lead on Jose Luis, so it's hard to feel empathy for her here because she really did this to herself. Tom and Florphy are now engaged, and we'll get to see their reveal in the next episode. I think this will be another successful face-to-face. Florphy is really pretty, and Tom looks okay, so I don't foresee any problems. I do want to say I don't like his black nail polish. Like, no judgment, but I'm really not a fan of men wearing nail polish, and I personally don't like black nail polish on men or women, but yeah, just my 2 cents when it came to his appearance. I wonder if Florphy would care about that, though. I don't think so because she's literally so chill, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Um, by the way, we totally lost Augustina in this episode. Did anybody else notice? Is her story over? Maybe she'll reappear in the next episode, but she had such a big presence in episode 1, so I was surprised not to see her in episode 2. But yeah, guys, that wraps up my reaction to episode 2 of Love is Blind Argentina. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for my reaction to episode 3. See you next time!